Hi there, welcome to the Charmacy. We're so excited to have Dr. Nadine here to present her soul food cards. They are nourishing and fantastic, and they have a lot of positive energy. So I'm really excited to introduce Dr. Nadine.
Thank you all for coming. My heart is just so filled with joy to be here. So thank you very much for the invitation and to be at this beautiful establishment. So as Mariah said, my name is Nadine, and I just wanted to take a little bit of time today to share about my journey with why soul food, what even came about with soul food. So I have to let you know that there's always a rebel in every family, and I swear I was the rebel in my family. And I remember being 13 and standing in a field and, kind of telling whatever, I don't care about health, I don't care about my well-being, and I really could care less if I die right now. And I was 13 years old, and I was filled with a lot of pain in my body. And that awareness about what food did, or that awareness about what thoughts do or self-love does, I was clueless. I was 13. I mean, come on, what do you do when you're 13? You fight back and you become the rebel. So I have truly been the rebel in that family, or pretty much any family that I've kind of attached myself to. I'm still the rebel. I'm not one that likes to follow the rules. And so in my journey, I exposed myself to a lot of toxins that I'm sure everybody else has exposed themselves to. But the biggest thing I would say is my mental game in my world was all of negative. There was so much negative self-talk. And I went from being what I would call a very healthy weight to well over 225 pounds. And I didn't like me at all. I didn't like me. And so one day I was diagnosed with cervical cancer, and in that part of that cervical cancer, it wasn't the fact that I was told I had cancer, it was the fact of something has to change. And in that part of my life, I remember being wheeled into surgery to have what they call a radical hysterectomy. As I was being wheeled into that operating room, I made a commitment to the people who were around me. I said, if I make it through this, then I commit my life to helping other people change and heal with food and heal their self-talk. So that was the start of my journey. I have been free from cancer since 2005, and so I'm really excited about that. Where I got to learn in my own personal journey is that thoughts become things. And so wherever we put our attention on our thoughts is what we create in our life. So my personal journey, a story that I've shared with other people, is I am a child of incest. And so for years, that relationship with men was very distorted. I was raised with a concept that you're always meant to perform for someone else, to do for someone else. And that led to all the negative in my brain, that led to all of the overeating, the hiding behind food. And so what you will find in the cards in soul food are everything that does address what different things happen in the body. I'll pick a few cards. But along my journey, I was a high school mathematics teacher, and I literally stepped away from teaching high school mathematics. I became a licensed minister. So I went to seminary school for 5 years so that I could heal my own relationship to whoever that was that I, did the whole thumbs up to when I was 13 years old. I shifted my whole awareness and studied nutrition, and I have got so many nutrition classes underneath my belt. But it was not just that I had knowledge, it was like, how do I share that knowledge with other people in a way that they could actually have that knowledge for themselves? And so one day I was sitting in Colorado Springs. I had just moved here. I didn't know anybody in 2005. And I had met a friend, came up from Denver, and we're sitting around my kitchen table. And she says, you have so much wisdom and so much knowledge to share. Have you thought about writing a book? And it's like, yeah, but there's so many books. And for me, I know my habit. I read a book and I'm done with it and I put it back on the shelf and we're done. And I didn't want that. I wanted something that was more active, more interaction. And there was the start of building what this deck eventually became called soul food, which is nourishment for the mind, the body, the emotions, and the spirit. So here I am. You're going to laugh at me because I know Deanna's in the audience, and Deanna has done a lot of my publication stuff, and so she's going to giggle at this. I literally thought that I was going to create soul food in Word. So if you know anything about how you create documents, I had a Word document up, and I wanted soul food to be to slide easily in your hand. And so I took out a checkbook, and I saw, oh, checkbooks slide really easy in your hand. And then the mathematics about this is these are really 3x6. So I honed it down to 3x6. But in the Word document, I literally created little ovals that were 3x6. And then I pulled my fonts in, and I'm typing my fonts in the front, and I had my message. So on the back of the card, there's a message. So I had the front of the card here, and then next to it, I had the back of the card. And I was asking people, well, what I don't know is how do you print these so that when you print them back to back, this front will line up with this back? I don't know. It's a Word document, right? And so this really lovely person stepped in my life and said, oh, you're doing it all wrong. Really what you want to hear, right? You're doing it all wrong. You need this program over here. And the program was called Adobe InDesign. And they got me set up with Adobe InDesign, and I went absolutely bonkers of pulling in different fonts. And you'll notice there's a few favorites in the deck that I like. Ooh, I really like that font. And so the main font of Soul Food, that has become one of my favorites, and it's branded everywhere. It's called Levy Brush, and it was like I had a lot of fun with it. But I literally picked different fonts, and I spent a lot of time making the emphasis of the card. What did I want it to say? So I got everything ready to step out and say, okay, we're ready for print. And I had 87 cards at the time. That's a lot of cards, you know. So I went into stores, and I would pick up Doreen Virtue's cards, or Abraham Hicks's cards, or Louise Hay. Those were my my mentors in the card publication. And when I picked up their decks, they all had like 44. I'm like, well, how do you get from 87 down to, you know, whatever you're going to put in the deck? So I took my package of Word document, I'm still in Adobe InDesign, and I had them published in what's called a PDF format. And I had this big papers, you know, and I sent them out, 5 or 6 packets around the United States to different people I knew. And I said, would you please take your pen out, and would you go through the ones that you absolutely love? You said, this card absolutely must be in the deck, and put a star on it. And I knew that whatever cards came back that had the most stars on it would be in the deck. And I swear to God, every single person who looked at the deck said, do not put that card in the deck. And I'm going to pull the card. I know that this is being filmed, but this card talks about sugar. And this was, as a cancer survivor, I learned that cancer will survive on any processed food, and it absolutely explodes on sugar. But it didn't explode on raw vegetables and raw fruit. So for me, this was like, sugar does not and cannot nourish or nurture the mind, body, or spirit, or emotions. And then on the back of the card, I put a whole lot of information about what sugar does to the hormones, to the body, to the mind, that up and down that goes. But I'm not lying to you. Every single person who read my rough draft said, do not put this card in the deck. And I knew that because there was so much resistance, this card had to be in the deck, right? So it's not every card is going to be the card that you absolutely love that day. But there is a card that is going to touch your heart, that's going to touch your emotions, that's going to touch your physicality, that allows you to stop whatever you are, wherever you are in that game, to stop and take a breath and bring yourself into present time, present moment, so that you can then choose a different reality for yourself. So on the front of the cards, there is a statement, and here's another one I love: whatever it takes. This one was hard for me, whatever it takes, because sometimes I'm human, I want to take the easiest route out. But on the back of this card, my first one, it says, I'll do whatever it takes. And my first one is, I'll ask for help. And I don't know about you guys, but asking for help was a big lesson for me to learn. that I didn't have to do it all by myself. But there's, probably 10 different suggestions of just an idea of how could I, if I pulled this card that day, how could I do whatever it takes with whatever I am working on for that day. So it really doesn't matter whether your goals are physical or emotional or mental or spiritual, there is a card that is going to help you shift in that moment. So my intention with Soul Food, after I pulled everything back and we started wheedling it down, it still was, how do you pick? How do you get down to the numbers? And I'm a numerology kid. I play in different avenues. And so I went to the numbers. And so a lot of decks you'll see have 44 cards in them. And in numerology, a 4 is about limitation. And I'm like, no, I'm not about limitation. So I looked at, well, but what about 5, 55? And 5 was about service. I'm like, I've done enough of things of being there for other people.
That's it.
So I knew it wasn't going to be the number 5. And I looked at the number 6. And 6 is about balance, it's about responsibility, and it's about love. And my whole body started tingling. Have you guys ever had that full body validation? It was like in that instant, it's like 6 is the number. So now you put them together, 66, in numerology, you always add everything together. So when you have a double number like 11, 22, 66, that's a power number. I'm like, all right, we're going to have a double number. So we're doing that power, and it's all about illumination. So I'm going to illuminate whatever the number 6 is, which is about, again, balance and that responsibility for self and love of self. So I'm sitting here with that number, and I kept going with numerology, and 6 and a 6, you add them up and reduce them down to their smallest number. A 6 and a 6 is 12. 1 plus 2 is a 3, and a 3 is all about joy. So here you have a deck of cards that's about balance, self-responsibility, joy, love, and illuminating that out. And I knew I had landed where I needed to be. So then it was, all right, there's a double card. Come on in. You can come on in and join our big group of people here. It's lovely. Come on in. That is kind of part of my journey. And I asked other people again, all right, we have this body of work. I knew what colors I wanted them to be, but I have this body of work. We're down to 66 cards. What would you call it? So I had a little contest to see what names people brought up. And literally, Soul Food it came right out from left field. One of the gals that was proofreading for me said, this is such nourishment for the soul. It's food for the soul. And their Soul Food was born. So we call it Soul Food Deck 1 because I am committed to there will be a Deck 2 and there will be a Deck 3. Now that this baby's finally been born, this has got the longest gestation period, I think, known to man. I created these again in Word document in 2005, and it has taken until they arrived December 7th of 2015. So it's the longest birthing process that I think anyone wants to go through. And my friends that have had children let me know that I definitely went through the entire birthing process. I got to go through the whole contractions. It's like, God, you're such like a new mom. I'm like, well, I don't know what that is because I've never birthed a child, but I did birth this baby. So in addition to Soul Food being in print, so here's the lovely deck of cards. So you have your lovely box, and these were created by my friend Deanna Estes of Lotus Design. She created my box for me. Soul Food is also available as an app for iPhone, iPod, iPad Touch, and those were created in 2008. And as far as I know, we may have been in more countries, but as of before, we've been downloaded in 19 countries. And I stopped after that. I stopped counting how many countries we went into. But I know that it's been received really, really well. And it's just that internal drive for me to know that this had to come into print. So we began the process. They are here. And I would say that I've let go now. I get emotional about this body of work because it's been my journey through cancer. It's been my journey through learning to set boundaries. It's been my journey through really learning that, You have to love yourself. You truly have to love yourself. And one of the biggest things I can say is that when I'm with people and I can say I love me in your presence, I know that I've landed on something amazing. And if I can't say that, I love me in your presence, I walk away. And if I can say that, then I stay, and I am just feel cherished about the friends that I have in my life. So one of the cards says, I love myself enough to say no. And this was a big one. Remember I told you I'm an incest survivor. So learning how to say no, because women, and many men, but many women are yes people. We say yes to everything. And that's not always appropriate. And so, again, I know this has been my journey, but I'm letting these go. They have been birthed. And my intention now is that whoever sees soul food, touches them, will receive some form of a healing on some level, whether it's mental, emotional, physical, or spiritual. So this is my gift to the world, and I wish it well. I really wish it well. So that's my little journey. Does anyone have questions that I didn't answer that you would like to know about soul food? Yes?
I was wondering how you use the cards. You know, what do you do? Do you just what do you
Good
do?
question. Good question. So I'm a kind of person who, it's not a tarot deck. When you're working with a tarot deck, tarot is meant to tell you about your past, present, or future. Soul food is meant to inspire you, to uplift you, to empower you, to challenge you. And so what I do is take your cards and I shuffle them. And I'll sit there and shuffle them until something flies out of the deck. And so all of a sudden, a card will fly. So let's say this is the card that just flew out of the deck. So this is my personal message for right now in this moment. And this card says, today I feed my cells and my body healthy, nutritious, balanced meals. So now I have a focal point, and I can either put it on a clip, something where I can put it on my desk or on my computer, and that's my focal point. And if I need a little bit more information, it's like, well, what does that mean? What's a healthy meal? Then on the back, there will be a little bit more information about, this is a gift for me, or there's some cards that say, here's what's one thing that I can do that helps me shift. But there are also 6 challenge cards in the deck. So here's one, and they look a little different. At the very top of the card, it'll say that it's a challenge assignment. Again, there's 6 of those. And this particular one is mirror work. So mirror work it's going to push on you a little bit. So this says to stand in front of a mirror, completely naked, and now talk to your body, touch your body, tell your body you love everything about you. All of you. Even the lumpy, bumpy parts of you. And remember I told you my story. I went from being 132 pounds to over 225. I know that the last time I allowed myself to stand on a scale where I would see the number, it's at 225. And, shit hit the fan when I saw that number. So on the back of it, it says, thank your body for still being here, loving you, regardless of all the times you made choices that did not honor or love your body in return. Spend time with you, loving you. So that is that focus, and maybe I'm going to work on this for a week, but when I'm ready for another card, I can put it back in and shuffle the deck and pull something else. So we talked about here's another fun one. Share your success. So maybe I'm a person who I don't talk to other people, but maybe that other person needs to hear about, wow, I just did something amazing for myself. So maybe I carried my food with me that day, or I did 5 more minutes on a step mill, or I lunged, or maybe I asked for help that day. So I'm going to share my success, that outstanding part of me, I'm going to share that with somebody else. So my intention is that you would pull a card a day, a week, whenever you wanted to start a conversation, whenever you need a focal point. And again, they allow you to stop whatever you're doing, completely stop, take a breath, get into present time, present moment, and then take a step forward in clarity with your little reminder card. And I can tell you they make amazing gifts. I do know that. Anybody else have a question? One of the questions I know I am asked is, what do the colors mean? Because everything about this is very significant. So I told you I'm a licensed minister, and I am also clairvoyant. And so for me, everything is energy, everything's well thought out. And the violet color, the lavender violet color, that belongs to Saint Germain, and it is his violet flame. And when you use the violet flame, it will go in any place you command that violet flame to go, and it will transmute and transfer that energy instantaneously. And so one of the things you can do in your home, in your office, in your vehicle, on streets, is literally just command that violet flame to billow through like a huge wildfire, billow through and shift the energy in your home instantaneously. The pink is that place in your heart, we call it this, your sacred sanctuary, where you learn to love yourself. And so that pink is that, you turn within, and it's that place where you can say, I love myself. And then the gold is that beam of light that connects you to heaven and earth. It's that above all that is. And so regardless of what your personal belief structure is, it connects you to everything. So my intention again is that you can just see them, and there's a shift that happens immediately. Any other questions? Cool. So one of the things I can tell you is, in my experience, is that soul food works for men and women. And predominantly, I'm going to say ages 13 and up. Whenever there's that place where we take self-responsibility, whenever that is, and it may be younger than that, but usually around 13 is where tribally, if you're in some of a tribe or a hierarchical family, usually it's around 13 where the cord is cut with the mother and you step into self-responsibility. So the things that I can tell you about soul food, I have it on a little card up here. It raises your self-esteem. It fosters self-love. It promotes healthy eating. It embraces well-being. Soul food absolutely 100% validates you. It gives you tons of permission, and it empowers you to step into the magnificence of who you are. And if you've ever been around me, you'll know one of my favorite sayings is, I love myself, I'm freaking awesome. And we have a little bumper sticker here that we put that says, guess what? I love myself, I'm freaking awesome. And there's a little gift for you inside the box of soul food. This is a surprise. You ready? Now this one's empty because all the cards are on the deck. But if you open your box of soul food, you will see at the bottom of the box it says, I love myself, I'm freaking awesome. And this will be a card in Soul Food Deck 2. So thank you for coming to join with me today. I will be available to sign your personal deck of soul food. So thank you very much, everybody. I appreciate it.